What if the most heartbreaking moment of The Chosen has already been revealed?
Imagine.
Scrolling online and suddenly seeing the crucifixion scene of Jesus before Season 6 has even aired? For fans who have waited years for this moment, this leak changes everything. Some say it's a blessing, giving a glimpse into the most powerful scene of the series. Others believe it ruins the suspense and disrespects the impact that the creators wanted us to feel. Whether real or staged, the leak has started a storm among fans. And the question now is, what does this mean for The Chosen and for us as viewers? Season 6 of The Chosen has been the most anticipated yet. Every season before it has carefully built the story of Jesus and his followers, step by step, leading us closer and closer to the moment that defines not just the show, but the faith it is built on. From the first calling of the disciples, to the miracles that stunned the crowds, to the growing opposition from religious leaders and Roman authorities, we all knew where the story was heading. It was not a surprise that the crucifixion would come. But no one expected it to appear online before its official release. That is why this leak has become such a shock. Fans have been discussing the crucifixion since the early days of the show. How would the creators handle it? Would it be graphic and brutal, showing the painful details of Roman execution? Or would it be subtle, focusing more on the emotional reactions of those who loved Jesus? These questions were left unanswered, fueling years of speculation. The crucifixion is not just another episode. It is the climax of the entire story. For many, it is the reason they have followed The Chosen so passionately. And now, with the leak, the mystery has been broken. Reports say the leaked footage is raw, emotional, and almost cinematic in its execution. The image of Jesus on the cross, the cries of Mary, and the silent despair of the disciples are all said to be present. Whether this footage is authentic or simply a test scene, it has stirred a storm. Some viewers claim they cried watching it, unable to believe the show had captured the pain so realistically. Others argue that seeing this too soon spoils the emotional journey, robbing them of the moment when the episode finally airs in its full context. What makes this even more powerful is the weight the crucifixion carries in the Christian story. It is not just a tragic death, it is the turning point of the faith, the sacrifice that changes everything. To see this event before its intended release feels, for some, like trespassing on sacred ground. That is why the debate is not just about spoilers, but about respect. Respect for the story, for the creators, and for the audience, who have waited for years to see this moment unfold in the way it was meant to. The leak has raised more questions than it has answered. Was this an accident, or was it intentional? Was the footage stolen, or was it part of a clever marketing move designed to spark conversation? The Chosen has always been careful with how it handles its audience, often involving fans directly in its production journey. Could this leak be part of that strategy? Or is it a breach that threatens to harm the impact of the most important episode yet? No matter the truth, one thing is clear. The crucifixion leak has become the most talked about moment in the Chosen fandom, as divided fans created debates across social media and left everyone wondering what Season 6 will look like when it finally arrives. The first whispers of the leak began quietly. A few blurry screenshots, a shaky description, and a fan forum, nothing solid enough to believe. But then came the clip, a short piece of footage that spread faster than anyone expected. The scene was unmistakable, cross raised against a stormy sky. A man broken and bloodied. A mother's tears. A group of followers watching in silence, their faces filled with fear and heartbreak. For those who saw it, there was no doubt. This was the crucifixion. What made the clip so striking was not just the imagery, but the atmosphere it carried. Even without polished editing, even without music, the weight of the moment was overwhelming. You could almost feel the air grow heavy. The pain in the voices of the characters was raw, unfiltered, as though the actors themselves had been swallowed into the grief of the story. It was not a flashy Hollywood version of the cross. It was stripped down, simple, human, and real. And that may be why it felt so powerful. Some fans immediately believed it had to be authentic. The level of detail in the costumes, the dust on the ground, The way the camera lingered on the crowd, it matched the style The Chosen has become known for, but others raised doubts. Could this be a test scene filmed privately, never meant to be released? Could it even be an unfinished cut, something captured during early editing? The debate over its origin only fueled the mystery. As the video spread, emotions divided sharply. Some fans cried, saying they could not stop replaying it, feeling both sorrow and awe at how the moment was captured. Others grew angry, saying the leak robbed them of the chance to experience the crucifixion as the creators intended, within the full story arc of the season. To watch the crucifixion without first seeing the betrayal, the trial, the carrying of the cross, it was like tearing the heart out of the story and showing it before its time. And then came the bigger questions. How had it leaked? Was it stolen? From the editing room? Shared secretly by someone on the set? Or was it something else entirely? A deliberate move by the production to stir conversation and fuel anticipation? The Chosen has always involved fans in its journey, sharing behind-the-scenes footage, inviting audiences into the process. Could this leak be an extension of that strategy? A carefully planned way to give fans a taste of what's coming, while still holding back the full picture? The uncertainty only made the leak more dramatic. With no official confirmation, viewers are left with blurred lines between rumor and reality. It's what we've seen, truly the crucifixion as it will appear in Season 6. Or is it only a shadow, a glimpse of something that will look very different when the full episode is released? Yet no matter the truth, the impact has already been made. The image of Jesus on the cross, Mary's face broken with grief, the silence of the disciples that has burned itself into the minds of fans. And whether the scene was meant for us to see or not, it has set the stage for one of the most emotional seasons The Chosen has ever created. The moment the crucifixion clip surfaced, the internet lit up like a wildfire. Fans of The Chosen, scattered across the world, suddenly found themselves in the middle of a storm. Within hours, social media platforms filled with posts, tweets, and comments that swung between awe, anger, and heartbreak. It was no longer just a leak. It had become a movement of emotions, each one louder than the last. For some, the reaction was deeply personal. They spoke of watching the leaked footage late at night, headphones on, their hearts heavy, they admitted, to crying, not because of the shock of the leak, but because of how real the pain felt. They said the performance pierced them, reminding them of the weight of the crucifixion in a way they had never experienced through film or television before. These viewers claimed that even in an unfinished state, the scene carried the power to change them. To them, the leak was not a spoiler, it was a gift, an unplanned moment of connection. But not everyone agreed. Many were furious. They argued that the crucifixion scene is not just another episode. It is the climax, the emotional peak, the event everything else has been leading toward. To see it early felt like robbery. Fans compared it to skipping the entire journey of a book and reading only the last chapter. They wanted the tears, the heartbreak, and the hope to arrive naturally at the moment the creators chose. To them, the leak was disrespectful, not just to the filmmakers, but to the sacredness of the story itself. Some voices in the fandom became suspicious. They questioned the timing. Why had this leak appeared now, just as hype for Season 6 was starting to build? Could it have been intentional? Some fans even called it a marketing leak staged to create buzz and get people talking. If that was the case, they admitted it had worked. The conversation around the show had never been louder. Still others dismissed this theory, saying the rawness of the clip felt too uncontrolled to be a clever stunt. There were also those caught in the middle, unsure how to feel. They didn't seek the leak out, but once it appeared on their feed, curiosity won. They clicked, they watched, and now they live with mixed emotions. They feel guilty for looking, but also grateful to have witnessed a moment so powerful. For them, the experience was like being handed a fragile piece of glass, beautiful, but dangerous to hold too soon. What makes these reactions so unique is the bond between The Chosen and its audience. This isn't a typical television show where viewers are distant from the creators. Fans have helped fund it, spread it, and champion it from the very beginning. They feel ownership. They feel responsibility. That is why this leak has cut so deep. For some, it is betrayal. For others, it is revelation. And for all, it has created a conversation that will not die down anytime soon, whether celebrated or condemned. The leak has already done something important. It reminded fans of the power this story holds. The crucifixion is not just history. It is a moment that continues to shake hearts, even in leaked and unfinished form. And now, as the debate rages on, the fandom waits with restless anticipation, knowing that when Season 6 finally arrives, the emotions will only grow stronger. To understand why this leak matters so much, we need to step back and look at the journey The Chosen has been building since its very first episode. From the beginning, the show has not been about rushing to the crucifixion. Instead, it has carefully laid the foundation, brick by brick, showing Jesus not just as a figure of history, but as a living presence who touches lives in deeply human ways. The miracles, the teachings, the friendships, the conflicts have all been threads leading us toward this single moment. Season 1 showed us the calling of the disciples, the fisherman, the tax collector, the zealot, ordinary men who were pulled into an extraordinary mission. Season 2 revealed the spreading tension, the whispers of opposition rising around Jesus as his words challenged both the powerful and the religious elite. Season 3 pushed those tensions further. As crowds grew larger and miracles became harder to ignore, while enemies sharpened their knives in the shadows. By the time Season 4 and 5 arrived, the shadow of the cross was no longer distant. It was near, almost visible at the edges of every frame. The creators of The Chosen have spoken often about their desire to treat the crucifixion with weight and reverence. For them, this is not just another dramatic twist. It is the heart of the story they are telling. That is why Season 6 is more than a continuation, it is a climax. Every line spoken, every relationship formed, every betrayal brewing in the background has been a careful step toward Golgotha. To jump ahead with a leak feels like cutting through years of patient storytelling. But beyond the writing, there is the production itself. The Chosen has always been known for its authenticity in recreating the world of first-century Judea. The costumes, the set design, the dusty streets, the sweat on the faces of Roman soldiers, all of it has been crafted to feel lived in. The crucifixion, perhaps the most famous execution in history, demanded even more precision. Fans expected it to be filmed not as spectacle, but as a moment that would feel painfully real. That is why the leaked clip carries so much weight. If what people saw truly was part of Season 6, then it means the production has already reached that long-awaited peak. It means the show has crossed into the moment where history, faith, and drama all collide. And if the leak was not intentional, then it also means someone has exposed the most guarded treasure of the entire series before its time. Context also matters in how fans experience the story, without the buildup of betrayal at the Last Supper, without the trial before Pilate, without the agonizing walk to Golgotha. The crucifixion risks being reduced to just another tragic scene. But within the full arc of Season 6 becomes the breaking point where every choice and every character thread finds its meaning. This is why so many fans feel robbed. They didn't want to see the destination without first walking the road. The production team now faces a challenge unlike any before. How do they move forward knowing that the crucifixion has already been seen in some form? Do they re-edit, change the tone, or leave it exactly as it was meant to be? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the leak has already shifted how fans will watch the final episodes. They won't just be waiting for the crucifixion. They will be comparing it to what they think they already saw, measuring every detail against the mystery of the leaked scene. And in that way, the leak has changed more than just a single moment. It has altered the journey itself. The crucifixion leak has done more than just stir curiosity. It has ignited a debate that cuts to the heart of storytelling, faith, and respect. For some, watching the leaked scene felt like trespassing into a sacred place, a moment not meant to be entered. Without preparation, for others, it was simply another piece of entertainment that found its way online. And in that clash of perspectives, a storm of controversy has erupted. One side argues that the leak is a violation not just of the creator's work, but of the weight of the crucifixion itself. They say this is not a Marvel trailer, not a Hollywood teaser to be consumed and forgotten. This is the crucifixion of Christ, portrayed with the intent to move hearts and change lives. To stumble across it on social media, stripped of its context and robbed of its buildup, feels to them like dishonor. They insist that moments like this are meant to be experienced as part of the whole, with the silence, the buildup, and the aftermath intact. Anything less is like tearing a page out of scripture and handing it to the crowd before the story is ready to be read. But there is another side louder, sometimes bolder, that sees the leak differently. They argue that stories belong to the audience as much as to the creators. Once filmed, once captured, the crucifixion scene becomes part of the collective experience of the chosen community. To them, seeing the clip early does not ruin the moment. It enhances the anticipation. They compare it to a spark that lights a fire, fueling conversation, debate, and passion long before the season's release. In their eyes, the leak may even be a blessing, allowing people to reflect on the crucifixion sooner, to wrestle with its meaning outside the boundaries of a release date. And then, in the middle of this divide, lies the suspicion that refuses to fade. Was the leak even real? Fans whisper theories of a deliberate marketing strategy, a staged accident meant to stir exactly this kind of chaos. The Chosen has always been bold in how it engages its fans' crowdfunding, behind-the-scenes content, open conversations with the creators. Could the crucifixion leak be the boldest engagement yet? Some say yes, claiming the timing is too perfect. Others reject the idea, pointing out the rawness of the footage, the lack of polish, the unedited feel. It doesn't look like a trailer. It looks like something stolen. This debate has opened wider questions too. Should sacred stories ever be marketed in this way? Should something as heavy as the crucifixion be teased, leaked, or dangled before the audience like bait? It's too many. Faith is not entertainment. It is life and death, hope and salvation. Mixing it with the chaos of internet leaks feels wrong. Yet in today's world where shows fight for attention in a flood of content, perhaps this controversy was inevitable. What cannot be denied is the effect. The crucifixion leak has turned Season 6 into one of the most talked about events in faith-based television. It has blurred the line between reverence and spectacle, between anticipation and exploitation. And now fans are left wrestling not just with what they saw, but with what it means for them, for the creators, and for the story itself. The crucifixion leak has done more than just stir curiosity, has ignited a debate that cuts to the heart of storytelling, faith and respect. For some, watching the leaked scene felt like trespassing into a sacred place, a moment not meant to be entered without preparation. For others, it was simply another piece of entertainment that found its way online. And in that clash of perspectives, a storm of controversy has erupted. One side argues that the leak is a violation, not just of the creator's work, but of the weight of the crucifixion itself. They say this is not a Marvel trailer, not a Hollywood teaser to be consumed and forgotten. This is the crucifixion of Christ, portrayed with the intent to move hearts and change lives. To stumble across it on social media, stripped of its context and robbed of its buildup, feels to them like dishonor. They insist that moments like this are meant to be experienced as part of the whole, with the silence, the buildup, and the aftermath intact. Anything less is like tearing a page out of scripture and handing it to the crowd before the story is ready to be read. But there is another side louder, sometimes bolder, that sees the leak differently. They argue that stories belong to the audience as much as to the creators. Once filmed, once captured, the crucifixion scene becomes part of the collective experience of the chosen community. To them, seeing the clip early does not ruin the moment. It enhances the anticipation. They compare it to a spark that lights a fire, fueling conversation, debate, and passion long before the season's release. In their eyes, the leak may even be a blessing, allowing people to reflect on the crucifixion sooner, to wrestle with its meaning outside the boundaries of a release date. And then, in the middle of this divide, lies the suspicion that refuses to fade. Was the leak even real? Fans whisper theories of a deliberate marketing strategy, a staged accident meant to stir exactly this kind of chaos. The Chosen has always been bold in how it engages its fans' crowdfunding, behind-the-scenes content, open conversations with the creators. Could the Crucifixion leak be the boldest engagement yet? Some say yes, claiming the timing is too perfect. Others reject the idea, pointing out the rawness of the footage, the lack of polish, the unedited feel. It doesn't look like a trailer. It looks like something stolen. This debate has opened wider questions too. Should sacred stories ever be marketed in this way? Should something as heavy as the Crucifixion be teased, leaked, or dangled before the audience like bait? Too many. Faith is not entertainment. It is life and death, hope and salvation. Mixing it with the chaos of internet leaks feels wrong, and in today's world where shows fight for attention in a flood of content perhaps, this controversy was inevitable. What cannot be denied is the effect. The Crucifixion leak has turned Season 6 into one of the most talked about events in faith-based television. It has blurred the line between reverence and spectacle, between anticipation and exploitation. And now, fans are left wrestling not just with what they saw, but with what it means for them, for the creators, and for the story itself. The leak has done more than reveal a single scene. It has reshaped the entire landscape of Season 6. Before this moment, fans expected a steady climb, a slow but deliberate march toward Golgotha, carried by betrayal, trial, and the weight of prophecy. Now, with the Crucifixion already glimpsed, everything feels different. It is as though the final chapter has been placed in the hands of the audience before the story has finished telling itself. For many fans, this changes how they will watch the season. Instead of asking what will happen, the question becomes, how will we get there? Every scene of Jesus with his disciples, every heated exchange with the Pharisees, every whisper of political unrest will now carry extra tension. The audience knows where the road ends. They have seen the cross. They're no longer walking in hope. They're walking in dread, waiting for the inevitable. This could work in two directions. On one hand, the leaked Crucifixion may deepen the suspense, making every moment of the journey heavier, like walking under a sky that already holds the storm. On the other hand, it risks dulling the impact. When the episode finally arrives, some viewers may sit back, not with shock, but with comparison, measuring the finished product against the leaked clip. If it matches too closely, the surprise is gone. If it differs, the debate will only grow louder. For the creators, this presents a challenge unlike any before. Do they lean into the leak, embracing it as part of the journey? Or do they attempt to reframe it, editing the Crucifixion in ways that surprise even those who think they have already seen it? The Chosen has built its reputation on authenticity and emotional honesty. To change the scene too much might feel like compromise. Yet to leave it exactly as it was might rob the moment of its intended force. The leak also raises bigger questions about the direction of Season 6 beyond the Crucifixion itself. If the cross has already been seen, then what will truly grip the audience? Perhaps the answer lies not in the death, but in the aftermath. The reactions of the disciples, the grief of Mary, the silence that follows when the man who healed the sick and calmed the storms is gone. The show has a chance to explore the human side of the Crucifixion in ways no leak could ever spoil. And then there is the future. Season 7, long rumored to focus on the resurrection and the birth of the early church, now carries even greater weight. If Season 6 is about death, Season 7 must be about life. If Season 6 is about despair, Season 7 must be about hope. The leak, in an unexpected way, may have made this contrast sharper. Viewers already know the darkness. They will now hunger even more for the light. So what does this leak mean for Season 6? It means the road ahead is both harder and more electrifying. The show must now prove that even when the ending is revealed, the journey still matters. It must remind us that the Crucifixion is not simply an event to be watched, but a story to be felt, lived, and carried in the heart. And perhaps when all is said and done, the leak will not weaken Season 6. It may make it stronger. The Crucifixion leak has left the world of The Chosen divided, but it has also reminded everyone of something important. This story still has the power to shake hearts, even in the age of spoilers and social media. Whether the clip was real, unfinished, or intentional, it managed to capture what makes this series different from any other. The Chosen is not just about retelling events, it is about making them feel alive again, pulling viewers into the dust, the tears, and the silence of history's most powerful moment for those who saw the leaked scene. The image of Jesus on the cross will not fade easily. It has already planted itself deep inside the imagination, reshaping the way Season 6 will be experienced. Every glance, every whispered word, every step on the road to Golgotha will now carry the weight of what they already know is coming. And perhaps that is fitting, because the crucifixion was never meant to be a surprise ending. It was always the shadow hanging over the story, the price of love that Jesus himself declared long before it happened. But the debate over the leak still burns. Was it disrespectful, robbing the audience of the chance to feel the scene in its id? Full context? Or was it a gift? A glimpse that deepened anticipation and stirred faith before the season's release? The answer may not matter as much as the result. The leak has done what all-powerful stories do. It has sparked conversation, has stirred emotion, and it has forced people to wrestle with the meaning of the cross, even outside the walls of the show. Looking ahead, the challenge now rests with the creators of The Chosen. It must prove that no leak can diminish the power of the crucifixion when told in full. It must deliver a Season 6 that is not only faithful to the story, but also strong enough to make viewers forget that they ever saw a fragment ahead of time. And if they succeed, the crucifixion will not just be an episode. It will be an experience that echoes long after the screen goes dark. So where does that leave us as fans, as viewers, as people waiting for the next chapter? It leaves us with a choice. We can let the leak ruin the journey, or we can let it deepen our hunger for what's to come. We can argue endlessly about whether it was right or wrong. We can focus on the truth the story has always carried, that the crucifixion was not the end, the beginning of something greater, and that is the final reminder. Season 6 may bring the cross, but the story does not stop there. Hope is waiting. Resurrection is coming. And when it does, no leak, no spoiler. No debate will be able to take away the power of that moment. So I ask you this: how do you feel about the crucifixion? Leak. Did it move you? Did it upset you? Or did it simply remind you why this story matters so much? Share your thoughts, your reactions, and your hopes for Season 6. Because one thing is certain, whether leaked or revealed on release day, The Chosen has already proven that its story is still alive, and it still speaks louder than ever.